Good evening, everyone. Myself, Dinesh Kumar, Technical Faculty at Time Chennai. Without any further delay, let us begin today's discussion. As you all know, computers have become an internal part of every sector today, from advanced like rocket science to everyday's area such as agriculture to banking. Because of this widespread usage, basic computer knowledge is no longer optional, but it is essential. However, from an exam perspective, especially for SSC, banking, IBPS, and RRB examinations, it is important to understand what to study and what not to study. You are not expected to master computers like an IT professional. Instead, you are expected to have a strong clarity on fundamentals and frequently tested concepts. Based on previous year's exam analysis, we have identified specific focus areas that repeatedly appear in these exams. Our goal today is to understand these fundamentals clearly and apply them directly to exam-oriented questions. So, with this clarity in mind, let's move ahead and start our discussion. Like I said before, we have identified some strong areas where we have to strengthen our fundamentals. Before we jump into questions, let us align our basics. Every SSC or bank computer questions becomes easy if you know fundamentals are clear. Today, we are not memorizing definitions. We are understanding how a computer actually works. If you understand this bucket well, this table of content well, half of the paper feels easy. So let's start with the first one, computer fundamentals and architecture. And here we'll see how computer system actually works. Here I classified few topics: basic of computer, generation of computers, input devices, output devices, CPU components, ALU, arithmetic logic unit, control unit, and registers. Before I move on to the question, I want to discuss few things related to the concept. A computer system has three basic steps, actually: input, process, and output. Let me complete this animation. Yeah. So a computer has three basic steps like input, process, and output. If you give input through devices like keyboard or mouse, the CPU processes the data and you see the output on a monitor or printer. This is how the computer basically works. When you type your name when you type your name and press enter, like keyboard input, the CPU will process and the screen will display the output. Most exams, mistakes happen when students confuse input and output devices. We will fix that today. And talk to generation of computers, exams do not ask deep history, but they ask key identifying features. Like first generation, second generation, like first generation is vacuum tubes, second generation is transistors, third generation is integrated circuits, fourth one is microprocessor, and the fifth one, artificial intelligence. Right now we are in fifth generation. Whenever you see the word like AI, machine learning, smart systems, think it is a fifth generation. Then input and output devices. Let's make this very clear. Input devices, for example, keyboard, mouse, scanner, biometric devices. Anything that sends data into a computer is an input device. Output devices, monitor, printer, speaker, plotter, right, nowadays, and 3D printer. Anything that shows the result is an output device. Is touchscreen input or output? It is both, right? Because through touchscreen, we can give the input and we can see the output. So touchscreen comes under both category. Yes, modern devices can be both input and output. Then CPU. CPU stands for Central Processing Unit. It is called the brain of the computer. CPU has three important parts. One is ALU, arithmetic logic unit, that performs calculation. Then control unit, controls and coordinate all activities. Think it is like a traffic police. Register, very small, very fast, memory inside the CPU, uses to hold immediate data. Registers are not RAM and not storage devices. That we have to keep it in mind in exam aspect. And final wrap up and transition. So from this slide, remember, computer works on input, process, and output. A belongs to fifth generation. CPU has ALU, control units, and registers inside. Now we will apply this understanding to MCQ, where most students make small silly mistakes. Let's move on to the questions now. Now, oh, excuse me. Okay. Oh, it displays the answer, but it's okay. The question is, which unit of CPU performs arithmetic operations? So just now I told you which one will display, which one will perform arithmetic operations, which is ALU. ALU is arithmetic logic unit. And what about the remaining thing? CU, control unit, register, and catch. Just think for a minute. Anybody got an idea? Now let's see. What is CU? CU means control unit, ALU means arithmetic logic unit, and register, right? Now, what control units will do? It will control and coordinate instruction that does not do calculation. A register, temporary, high-speed storage, but no processing. What catch will do? Memory-based CPU and RAM, not a processing unit. Yeah, so this is the final answer, ALU for this. I hope there is no doubt in this. Let's move on to the next question. Just go through the question. Which port is typically used for coordinating printers? Right? There are four options: USB, VGA, HDMI, and PS-bar2. I'll tell you, all this thing, but the final answer for this question is USB. Modern printers use USB cable nowadays, right? There are two options. One is it will use the USB cable. Another one is wireless, Wi-Fi. Through Wi-Fi also, now the printers can be connected to modern computers. But in most of the exam, the standard output will be, the standard answer will be USB, right? In older ports like parallel port are no longer asked frequently. So the final answer for this kind of question is USB. What about the remaining thing? VGA, used for monitor display, right? So if you like to connect our monitor, then the VGA port is used. What is HDMI? Audio and video output. You might have seen the projector's cable like 5 years or 10 years back, only VGA. So it is used to connect the monitors, only the visual. Why nowadays HDMI cables? HDMI cables are used to give audio and video output, right? The last one, PS2, that is keyboard and mouse only, right? Using the option PS2, we can connect keyboard and mouse alone. So the final answer for this question is USB. Now, what does BIOS stands for? The correct answer for this question is Basic Input Output System. What is BIOS? BIOS is a very basic but guaranteed exam question. BIOS is firmware that starts the computer, checks hardware, loads the operating system. And the full form is Basic Input Output System. Why other options are wrong, right? Binary, integrated, or bus, just a confusing words. Only the basic input output is the standard expansion. Clear? Let's move on to the next question. Which of the following, excuse me, which of the following is the brain of the computer? Right? So these are all most commonly asked questions, right? We have four, and the fourth option is a new one here. And the final answer for this question is CPU. This is a fundamental question, oftenly asked in SSC and bank exam. The CPU, central processing unit, controls all the operations, performs calculations, coordinates memory and devices. That's why CPU is called the brain of the computer. Why other options are wrong? CU only controls operation, not entire processing. Like I said before, ALU we discussed before, right? It performs arithmetic and logic, but it is not part of CPU. Please remember. The last one, RAM, it's a temporary memory, right? Not a processing unit. So the option fits for this question is CPU, central processing unit. Let's move on to the next question. Which among the following is an example of machine language? There are four options we have. Three languages explicitly mentioned what language it is, like option B, C, and D, assembly code, Java, and C++. And look at the first option. It is 10110010. It is a binary language, right? So machine language is a lowest level language. It contains only binary digit 0 and 1. Computers directly understand machine language, not Java or C++, which are high-level languages. Assembly, when you talk about the particular option, assembly code, it is symbolic, not binary. Java and C++, like I told you, it is a high-level languages. So machine level languages, binary. So sometimes they will give you the word binary. Sometimes they can give you like this option too. Which of the following converts high-level language into machine code line by line, right? So that's the keyword here, because compiler 2 converts the code from high-level language to machine understandable code. But here there is a hint word, right? What is that? Line by line. So the correct answer is interpreter. Why? A compiler converts the entire program at once, but an interpreter works line by line, executing each statement immediately. That's why interpreted language are easier to debug, but slower. Why other options are wrong? Compiler converts the whole program together. Assembler converts assembly level language to machine code, not the high level code. Translator, in general terms, it is not specific. So this is the correct answer. In the short term, if you want me to say, compiler is full program, interpreter is line by line. So likewise, we can remember the keywords. Let's move on to the next question. Which of the following is the function of the control unit in the CPU? We have four options, and the right option is option C, a direct flow of instructions. Let's see why. Like I told you, the CPU has three parts. ALU calculates, CU controls, registers stores temporarily. The control unit does not calculate, it tells other components what to do and when. So it directs, right? So the basic functionality of the CU and the CPU is it tells other components what to do and when. So it direct flow of instructions. It instruct the other components what to do and when. And I'm repeatedly telling performance calculation, it is ALU. Manage memory, it is memory controller or the OS. Store data, it is registers or memory. So the right answer for this question is direct flow of instructions. So far we have seen fundamentals of computer fundamentals and basic architecture questions. Now we will see memory, storage, and number system related questions. So before I move on to the questions in memory, we will see the general terms or subtopics. The first one is memory type. The second one, in memory types, we have three types. One is primary memory, secondary memory, volatile or non-volatile. And then we have storage devices like HDD versus SSD. Nowadays, most of the computers comes with SSD, not HDD. Then very famous cloud storage. It's a favorite questions in modern computer science. Then memory units, like it will start from bit, byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte. Number systems like binary, decimal, and hexadecimal. We have octal too, but I listed very few topics here. So now we move to one of the most important and most confusing area in computer exams. Memory and storage. Almost every paper has 2 to 4 questions from this bucket. I'm saying every category as a bucket. And most wrong answer happen due to confusion and not a lack of knowledge in memory particularly. Because whenever we buy a laptop or mobile, we don't care about the mobile, right? We don't care about the memory, or we don't care about the performance. We only care about the camera, right? So that is one of the reasons people are not concentrating much on memory. Let's talk with the first one. First, let's separate memory into two big categories. One is primary, another one is secondary. Primary, we have RAM, cache, registers. These three comes under primary memory. Primary memory is, if you talk about the properties, it is fast, directly accessed by CPU, but limited in size. Secondary memory, hard disk, HDD, SSD, pen drive, CD, or DVD. Properties, it is slower, but large in capacity, used for permanent storage. In short, if you want me to say, RAM is, not short, but in an exam aspect, people will do mistakes in these areas. Like RAM is not a secondary memory, right? So it's a primary memory. SSD is not a primary memory, it is a secondary memory. So these two areas, oftenly people will get confused. Now, what is mean by volatile versus non-volatile memory? Now, another very common exam area, this is volatile memory. The data is lost when power is off, right? Let's say I'm using this, right now, my system, if it goes out of battery, whatever the data stored in volatile memory will go off. What are the volatile memories? RAM, cache, and registers. What is non-volatile memory? Data remains even after the power is off, like ROM, hard disk, our pen drives, SSD. If we burn the data in CD, yes, those data will remain even after the power is off. So the very quick example is, if electricity goes off and your document disappears, that memory is volatile. If it not, then it is non-volatile, right? That's all. Now, what is HDD and SSD? Many people have this common doubt, right? Even if you go and buy a new laptop, nowadays, all the computers have SSD, right? Not all, majority of the laptops, right, comes, with SSD. So what is the basic difference between, HDD, hard disk, and SSD? I like to give it in, three aspects now. I'm not going in deeper. One is speed. Second one is noise. The third one is moving parts, right? So HDD, hard disk, is slower. SSD is faster. Noise. Hard disk, yes, there will be a noise, right? So the fan sound, or that is a fan, that's a processor fan, sorry. Hard disk, sometimes it will give you a noise when it try to read data or write data, but SSD is silent. Moving parts, we can move HDD, hard disk. Let's say my laptop or my system gets fault. I can remove the hard disk and keep on cap and use it in another system. But SSD, no, right? So let me revise quickly. Three aspects I like to say: speed, noise, and moving parts. Speed, hard disk is slower, SSD is faster. Noise, hard disk, yes, there will be a noise, but in SSD, it is silent. Moving parts, hard disk, yes, we can move. SSD, no. So whenever the question says fastest storage, choose SSD. Now let's come to very interesting area nowadays, cloud storage. Example, very basic example, everybody is using is Google Cloud. We don't need, not to know Azure, right? Microsoft Azure or AWS. The simple thing we are using, Gmail gives 15 GB free. That is a cloud space. It is in Android. If you go to Apple, Apple gives 5 GB free. That is a cloud space. If you talk about other examples, OneDrive, Dropbox, these are all the best examples for cloud storage. I'll repeat: Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox. Cloud means it is internet-based, access everywhere, backup and sharing, right? So these are all the three important things related to cloud. I'll repeat: internet, it is internet-based, it can be accessed anywhere, and we can do backup and sharing. Then memory units. These are direct questions in SSC and bank exams. In order to remember is, like I mentioned in the slide, bit, byte, KB, MP, GB, and TB, terabyte, right? Key facts are 1 byte equal to 8. So please go through the remaining things, right? So 1 kilobyte equal to 1024 bytes, 1 MP equal to 1024 kilobytes, 1 GB equal to 1024 megabytes, right? So do not mix 1000 and 1024 unless clearly mentioned. The last one, number system. They will not ask deep math, only logic based basics. The common types are binary, use zeros and ones. Decimal uses 0 and 9. Hexadecimal uses 0, 9, and ATF, right? Capital letter ATF. So computer understands binary, Human understand decimal. Simple lines for exam is, if the question talks about machine learning, go for binary, right? So that's all. Now the wrap up is over. Let's move on to questions related to this category, memory storage and number system. We talked about volatile and non-volatile. Now the question comes, which of the following is not a volatile memory? It's a very direct question, right? RAM, cache, ROM, and register. And the answer is ROM. It is, a highly repeated, area. First, understand, one definition clearly. Non-volatile means data is not lost when power is off, right? So ask yourself, if the power gone, data still there? Yes. ROM stores BIOS. Just now we have discussed what is BIOS, firmware, boot instructions. So even when the power is off, ROM remembers everything. Hence, ROM is non-volatile. Talking about the other options, RAM. RAM is volatile. Data lost when the power is off, if it is not stored. Cache. It is very volatile, very small, but fast in memory. Register. Again, it is volatile. It is inside the CPU. And the correct answer for this question is ROM. The next question is, which of these is not a secondary storage? We discussed what is primary and secondary. And here we have four options. Which of the following is not a secondary? It means which is a primary storage? The primary storage here out of this option is RAM, because CD, pen drive, hard disk are external movable parts, right? So secondary storage means it's a permanent storage, clear, and non-volatile in nature. Then stores data even after the power off. The best examples are hard disk, pen drive, CD, and DVD. RAM is volatile, temporary, and the data loss when the power is off. So RAM is not a secondary memory. Other options are secondary memory. The smallest unit of data in a computer is? What is the smallest unit of data in a computer? We have seen the memory order, like bit, byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, and terabyte. So we can say based on that, the answer is bit. In computers, everything is based on binary, zeros and ones. The smallest possible unit is bit, which is a binary digit that owns a 4-byte. It's called nipple, right? So totally 8 bits. First 4 bytes is called, if you consider only 4 bytes, it is called nipple. Most of the people does not know what is meant by nipple. So now you please understand. 8 bits equal to 1 byte, right? And 4 bytes means it is called nipple, right? NIBBLE. So always remember, first come bit, then nipple, then byte. Because here you know what is bit, byte, word. But nipple, you people may hear or may not hear. So I like to say here, nipple is 4 byte, but not smallest, right? Bit means 1. 4 bit means nipple, 8 bits means byte, right? So byte is 8. Word means group of bytes because it depends on the system. And nipple means 4 bits, and the smallest one is bit. Which memory is directly accessible by the CPU? Cache, secondary, optical device, and external hard disk. The answer is cache. Why? The CPU needs very fast memory, right? Which is a cache memory. Is very close to CPU, stores frequently used data, right? In a layman words, if you open Windows Explorer or Finder in MacBook, you can find recently used items. So there you can find what are all the items used by the user very recently. What are all the documents, right? So it can be achieved with this cache memory. Not only in OS, if you open your phone log or if you open browser, there if you type something, we are immediately getting some suggestions. Those suggestions is not stored in the backend server. It is stored in the client cache memory because cache memories are faster and obviously this is smaller. If the cache memory is bigger, obviously it will not be slower, right? So bigger people cannot move faster. So the memory directly accessed by CPU is cache. Why other options are wrong? Secondary storage, it is hard disk or SSD, it is slower. And optical device, what are all the optical device? Optical disk, CD, DVD, right? Those things, it's all secondary memory. And external hard disk, it's a peripheral device, right? Obviously, it is not directly accessed by CPU. And if you ask me, the speed order, which is faster than next, right? First one is cache memory, which is very faster and very close to CPU. The second one is RAM. The third one is other storage device. So let's put it in this way, right? So cache, RAM, and storage device. Then let's move on to the next question. Which among the following is not an input device? Input devices send data into the computer. Let's take the first option, scanner. It scans the document. Second one, joystick. It's a game input. A fourth one, microphone. It's a voice input, right? So the plotter, however, is used to produce output drawings, especially large graphics, right? So here the output device is plotter. You might have heard, scanner, joystick, microphone. Plotter, you might not hear or might hear, but I like to give this one as a note to you right now. So plot is used to produce output drawings, especially large graphics. People are working in art or let's say graphical design. They know what this plotter is. Yeah. So this plotter is a output device, not an input device. Which of these represents 1 terabyte? Again, it is a very direct question, right? So we have to learn what is 1 terabyte, what is 1 kilobyte, what is 1 megabyte, right? And so on, so on. So here the answer is 1024 gigabyte. I already showed you, the range, right? Which will start from the bit, nipple, byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, and terabyte. So when you move from one byte to another byte, it will be 1024. So you please always remember this one. And if you want me to say right now, 1 kilobyte equal to 1024 bytes, 1 megabyte equal to 1024 kilobytes, and 1 gigabyte equal to 1024 megabyte. And obviously 1 terabyte equal to 1024 gigabyte. If you remember this, you can answer the remaining things. What is 1024? It is 2 power 32. So sometimes they will ask you this too, right? 2 power 32. And we can say that 1 terabyte equal to how much gigabyte? Sorry, how much megabyte? So if you go with that 2 power 32 into 2 power 32, so it will be 2 power 64, right? So that is easy to remember. If you try to remember memorize all the combination, you will forget. So please remember, the scale. And when you move from one unit to another unit, if you jump another unit, you have to multiply 2 power 32, which is 1024. So that is what I'm trying to show you through this question. Then let's move on to the next question. Which of these is not a characteristic of primary memory? Properties also we have seen, right? And here the correct answer is permanent storage, because primary memory includes RAM and cache. The key properties are it is fast, temporary, and volatile. So permanent storage does not apply to primary memory. Why other options are wrong? Volatile. It is true for RAM. Fast access, primary memory is fastest. Stores instructions temporarily. Yes. Right. So these are all the characteristics of primary. So which is not permanently storage, right? So permanent storage is not the characteristics of primary memory because it will store temporarily. So the important key features of primary memory are fast, temporary, and volatile. Then which memory unit is the fastest to access? We have four: cache, RAM, register, and virtual memory. The moment people read this question, they would answer cache, right? Because very often we'll talk about cache memory, clear the cache memory, right? Clear the browsing history, clear the log. So all those things comes under cache. But the fastest one is register. Why? Register are located inside the CPU itself. So it is a closer, the closer the memory is to the CPU, the fastest it is. So the closest one is a register. Now, in the previous question, I gave you the speed order. So there I didn't mention, register. So now you please, make a note. I said like cache, RAM, and storage. Now you can rewrite that one. Before cache, please add register. So registers are the fastest one. The second fastest is cache. The third fastest one is RAM. The fourth ones are other storage device. Yeah, great. What is virtual memory? Virtual memories are, literally slowest one. It is disk-based, right? So if you take any disk-based memory like floppy, it's all very old tech, right? But still, I'm just saying floppy disk, CD, those are all, virtual memory. And those are all very slow, right? Because those are all disk-based and it is very slower. So that's all the questions from memory-based. Now, let's start with, operating system. Operating systems. Give me a second. Sorry, fellas. So let's continue from here. Let's start from the operating system. It's a third bucket. So I'm saying the category as bucket. So we have completed two bucket. The first one is computer fundamentals. Second one is memory storage and number system. Now the third one is operating system. This is a guaranteed question area, right? Because I said like six category, or let's say six buckets. In that, this area is a guaranteed question area. In SSC and bank exams, 1 to 3 direct questions come from OS and software concepts. The first one is, what is an operating system? Let's clearly understand what an operating system does. The definition says, an operating system is an interface between the user and computer hardware. Right? The user, operating system, and hardware. So that is the interaction. Right? The user will interact the hardware through operating system. Example, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, Android. Without OS, hardware is useless to the user. Functions of OS. Let me display all the points. Okay, so the core functions of OS: process management, memory management, file management, device management. So please remember, like, process, memory, file, device. Simple explanation is OS decides what program runs, how much memory it gets, which file is accessed, which device works when. So these are all the four key functions: process, memory, file, and device. I repeat, which program runs, how much memory it gets, which file is accessed, which device works when. Right? So OS is not an application software, right? So that you please understand. OS is not an application software. Upon OS, other softwares, other application softwares is going to be installed. Windows is OS and VLC player or MS Office or application softwares. Types of software. Now, this is one of the most repeated areas. The first one is system software. Operating system, device drivers, firmware. These are all comes under system software. I'll repeat: operating system, device drivers, firmware. System software controls the system itself. The second one is application software. MS Word, Excel, browser, media players. Application software is for user tasks. Utility software like antivirus, disk cleanup, backup tools. Utility software helps in maintenance and protection. So I'll repeat the three types quickly. System software controls the system itself. Application software is used for user tasks. Utility software helps in maintenance and protection. The next one, booting and startup concepts. Another favorite exam concept, booting. What is booting? Booting is a process of starting the computer. Types are cold boot, like power on, warm boot, restart. So these kind of terminology you might hear or may not hear, but now you please make a note. There are two types. One is cold, another one is warm. Cold means power on. Warm boot means restart. Very important point is booting is not equal to login. Login is different, booting is different. Booting is boot the OS, login is login after booting is completed. Then, user interface. What is user interface? Now, very simple but commonly asked. GUI means graphical user interface, like icons, mouse, the windows. CLI means command line interface, like text-based commands. We have command prompt, right? That is CLI. And if you open MS Word, that is GUI. Now, let's jump into the questions. The first question. Which of these is an example of system software? Compiler, text editor, browser, spreadsheet. And the correct answer is compiler. System software helps the system run, not the user. Examples, operating system, compiler, device drivers, right? So basically what is system software? It helps the system run. And the best examples are operating system, compiler, and device drivers. A compiler, it means converts high-level language into machine code, works at system level. So compiler is a system software. The other options are text editor. It's an application software. Browser, again, it is an application software. And spreadsheet, it is also a application software because it runs and helps the user. Which shortcut key opens the run dialog in Windows? This shortcut, keys kind of questions are very common, right? So this very frequently asked question, Windows shortcut question, right? So run dialog is used to quickly open CMD, the command prompt, services, then MS configuration, right? So using the command, using the run dialog, we can quickly open command prompt, services, then MS config, right? And the shortcut is Windows key plus R. Sometimes they will mention Windows key plus R, but the shortcut of Windows key is VIN, right? So VIN plus R. So anytime you see a run dialog, please lock your answer Win plus R. The other options, Control plus R refreshes in browser or Excel, right? So it is used to refresh. It is all Windows shortcut, not MacBook. Alt or no standard Windows function. There is no shortcut, Alt plus R. Shift plus R, not used for run dialog, right? So the correct answer is Win plus R. And Control plus R is used for refresh the browser. Other two options, Alt plus R, Shift plus R, or not a standard Windows function. Which Linux command, which Linux command lists the file in the current directory? Even if you don't know the Linux, if you might worked in command prompt, we might use the Linux commands, right? Please, it is good to know, the basics of Linux. And here the answer is ls. In Linux, file listing is done using ls. This is similar to dir in Windows. Dir means directory. Common Linux commands are pwd I mean, what are all the questions, I mean, options I mentioned here, I'll just say it. Others, please refer it. PWD shows path. CD, change directory. LS, list files. dir is a Windows command, not a Linux command. Right? I'll repeat. PWD, show path. LS, list files. CD, change directory. dir is a Windows command, not a Linux one. Which of these is not a type of operating system? We have four, right? And the correct answer is compiler. Why? Here, we must clearly separate operating system from system software tools. Batch OS, time sharing OS, distributed OS, all are types of operating system. A compiler, however, is a translated program, not an OS. So, batch processing, time sharing, distributed is not the correct answer. Compiler is the correct answer. And what batch processing means? OS that executes jobs in batches. That is called batch processing, right? I'll repeat. OS that execute jobs in batches. Time sharing, multiple users share CPU time. Distributed OS manages multiple connected systems. Compiler converts source code to machine code. So the golden rule is compiler is not an operating system. Which keyword shortcut in Windows log the computer? The correct answer is Windows key plus L. The shortcut is directly related to system security. Windows plus L locks the system instantly. Commonly used in offices to prevent unauthorized access, right? Why other options are wrong? Windows plus D, the first option, shows desktop. Control L, address bar in browsers. Alt L, no standard Windows function. I'll repeat. The first option, Window plus D, shows desktop. Windows plus L locks the system instantly. Control plus L, address bar in browsers. Alt plus L, not a standard Windows function. So whenever you leave the desk, if you are using a Windows, please use the shortcut Window plus L. It will instantly lock your system. Which of the following is not an open source sorry, yes. Which of the following is not an open source operating system? Ubuntu, Fedora, Red Hat, and Windows 10. This is not an open source. The moment people says, this kind of questions, they may choose some other thing, thinking that Windows 10 is an open source. But Windows 10 is not an open source. We are thinking like after we buying a computer, it comes with the Windows OS, so it might be free. Imagine if the software is crashed, can you get a free OS? No, pirated one, that is different, right? So Windows 10 is a property or let's say proprietary OS by Microsoft. But Ubuntu, Fedora, RHEL, I mean, a Red Hat Enterprise Linux or Linux-based OS, and it is open source code. So if you need Ubuntu, it is an open source, you don't need to pay a penny, right? So please remember the point, Windows 10 is not a free open source, or let's say it is not an open source, it's a proprietary OS by Microsoft. Clear? And if you want me to say, individually, Ubuntu means it's an open source Linux OS. Fedora, it is a community-driven Linux. RHEL, Red Hat, it's a commercial support, but not Linux-based. So the quick rule is whenever Linux comes, it is open source. Windows, it's a closed source. Which of these is the command to remove a directory in Linux? Even in the question itself, we have the clue to remove a directory. So by seeing the option, we can easily say option B, RMDIR, right? Because the first option says it is delete, C is remove, D is RM file. So we have some instinct that we can use it. It is RMDIR. The right answer is RMDIR. In Linux, RMDIR means remove empty directories. RM means remove files. So to remove a file, it is not RM file, it is RM, right? Essentially, in SSC kind of exam, usually test basic Linux commands, not advanced syntax. Let's go with the remaining options. del, it's a Windows command. Remove, not a valid Linux command. RM file, it is an invalid command. So from this question, you can take two input. One is remove directory means RMDIR. Remove file means RM. It is not RM file. Which of these is not a Linux distribution? The option is Windows Server. I'll tell you this question because it is not a quite common question you might have faced in your near past. Debian, Fedora, and Ubuntu are all Linux-based operating systems. Windows Server belongs to Microsoft Windows family, not Linux. Okay? So why other options are wrong? Debian, it is base Linux distro. Fedora, it's a Red Hat based Linux. Ubuntu, Debian based Linux. Windows Server, it is a Microsoft Windows family, not Linux. Which shortcut key is used to open Task Manager in Windows? The answer is Control plus Shift plus Escape. This is a direct shortcut question, very common in SSC. If you want to open Task Manager directly without any intermediate screen, use Control plus Shift plus Escape. Remember, this opens Task Manager instantly. And what about other shortcut? Control plus Alt plus Delete opens securely option screen, not directly Task Manager. Alt Tab Switch between open applications. Shift plus escape, not a valid Windows shortcut. So when comes task manager, it is Control Shift Escape. So now we have done with the memory based. Now network. So networking, cybersecurity, all these things, we can put it in this bucket. Now we move to networking and internet, one of the highest scoring section. Yes, right? Because cybersecurity, internet, networking, hacking related questions, right? All these things comes under this one. Most of these questions are logical plus common sense, not memorization. Memorization is not at all needed. The first one, what is computer network, right? Very basic one. A computer network is a group of computers connected to shared resources. What are all resources? Files, printers, internet, right? So whenever a sharing resource comes, you can easily trigger network. Types of network. We have LAN, MAN, and WAN. LAN means local area network, small areas like office, school, and lab. MAN means metropolitan area network, city level network, or town level. WAN, wide area network, that is what internet, right? Internet is the best example for WAN, country or world based. So one line trick is LAN means room, MAN means city, WAN means world. Network devices, router, switch, modem, right? These are all the terms you might have heard, while you are setting Wi-Fi in your home. What is router? Connects different networks. Switch connects devices within the same network. Modem converts digital and analog signals, right? So let me put it again here. Router, switch, modem. Router connects different network. Switch connects different devices within the same network. Modem means convert digital to analog signals and vice versa. Router is not equal to switch. Please remember. Switch will connect multiple devices. Router will connect different networks. Then internet and web basics. Internet means a global network of networks. WWW means it's World Wide Web, a service running on the internet. Many people are thinking like internet is equal to www. Right? I'm comparing like 5 equal to 5, right? So internet is not equal to triple W, right? Because internet is different. World Wide Web is different. World Wide Web is a service running on the internet. What is WAN? It is a wide area network, right? It's a network where we can, establish the connection to different country to country, right? So www is a service running on the internet. It is not equal to internet. Then finally, URL, address of the web page, right? So URL is nothing but address of the web page. Then cybersecurity, it's a very important, right? Some of the terms are phishing, ransomware, firewall. Phishing means tricking user to steal data. Ransomware means encrypt files and demands money. Firewall means blocks unauthorized access. So these are all the terms. And here again, right? I'll repeat the terms one more time. Phishing means tricking users to steal data. Ransomware means encrypt files and demand money. Firewall means blocks unauthorized access. And here, how, in the previous category, how I said, don't compare internet with www. Similarly here, please don't compare antivirus with firewall. Firewall is different, antivirus is different, right? Firewall is, it will block unauthorized access. Antivirus will protect the file, right? So that is a file level and firewall is access level. So now let's jump on to the question. In networking, which device works at the data layer of the OSI model? Now here comes, what is data link layer and what is OSI layer, right? So here I placed, 4 different options. Let's discuss. Here the correct answer is switch, like I displayed in the screen. Now think, this is a classic OSI model question, very common in SSC and bank exams. And remember, there are 3 layers. One is OSI 1, layer 1, OSI layer 2, OSI layer 3. Layer 1, physical, layer 2, data, layer 3, network, right? So physical data network. A switch works using MAC address, and MAC address belongs to the data layer. So the moment you see layer 2 or MAC address, your answer should immediately be switch. Then what about other options, right? So I concluded switch belongs to a data link layer level 2. Then what about other options? Let's start with hub. Works at physical layer, no intelligence. Router works at network layer, uses IP address. Firewall operates mainly at network and application layer. So let's put it together now. Let's start with option A, hub. Works at physical layer. Switch works at data link layer, level 2. Router works at network layer. Firewall operates mainly in network. So we can put it in network layer. So hub is layer 1, switch is layer 2, router is layer 3. The 3 layers are physical, data link, and network. Which of the following is a correct IPv6 address format? You might have seen this IPv6 in your network, right? While you are setting the networks, you can see this kind of address. But we used to set IPv4, right? Like the subnet mask, you might set like 192.168.11, 1.1, 4 different sections. That is IPv4, right? I'll tell you what is IPv4 and IPv6, so you can easily answer this kind of questions. IPv4 uses numbers. There will be 4 blocks. Example, 192.168.1.1, 4 different blocks, and it will use numbers. IPv6 uses hexadecimal, uses colon, not dot. Sometimes use double colon too. So option B is the only one following IPv6 format, because you can see hexadecimal and colon and double colon. Then what about other options? The first one, option A, is a IPv4. Option C, that is subnet mask. Option D, that is IPv4, right? So it's a simple hackers. Double colon means colon or double colon means V6, dot means V4. So I'll repeat, option A, V4, option B, V6, option C, subnet mask, option D, V4. Which of these is not an email protocol? The correct answer is HTTP. Why? Email protocols are used only for sending or receiving emails. Email related protocols are SMTP, POP3, IMAP. What is HTTP? It is used for web browsing, not emailing, right? And what is SMTP? SMTP means sending mails. POP3 means receiving mails. IMAP, again, receiving emails server-based. HTTP is mainly used for web browsing. Which cyber attack triggers users into providing personal information via fake websites? That is called phishing, right? In the beginning itself, I told you what is meant by phishing. Phishing means it's a kind of cyber attack to steal the personal data. The question is directly asked from cybersecurity basics, and again, very common in SSC and bank exams. Phishing means fake website or email, messages, WhatsApp messages, or banner, any kind of links. Looks like a genuine one, like a bank or company or OTP pages. It will trick users to entering passwords, card details, and OTPs, Aadhaar number, and other details. So whenever you hear uh, fake emails, fake website, tricking users, the answer is phishing. And what about others? Worm. It is a self-replicating malware, right? If you send that worm into a computer as a small bug, so that will self-replicate itself. Ransomware. It's a encrypts data and demands money. If it demands a money, that's a kind of ransomware, like cryptos. Rootkit, it hides malicious activity in OS, right? So we can't identify whether it is there or not, right? So it will hide inside the OS. A bridge is used to dash connect two lines. A bridge works at a data link layer and is used to connect two similar lines. We discussed three different OSI layers: physical, data, and network. So this comes under data link layer, layer 2, right? Uh, think of it as like LAN to LAN or same type of network, right? Used to reduce traffic. And what about others? LAN to WAN, we need router. Filter spam, we need email server or security software. Translate domain names, we need DNS, right? So I'll repeat. Bridge means connecting LAN to LAN. So here option 2. What about LAN to WAN? Router, filter spam, email server or security software. Translate domain names, DNS. Which of the following is an example of asymmetric encryption? Answer is RSA. Encryption types are often tested in exams. There are two types. One is symmetric encryption, asymmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption means small key like AES, DES, blowfish. Asymmetric encryption means two keys, public and private. So RSA uses one public key and one private key. So RSA is the correct answer. The other options, AES, DES, blowfish, or symmetric algorithms, only RSA uses two keys, right? So what is mean by symmetric? Same key, right? If same key is used, that is symmetric. Two keys are used, then it is asymmetric. What is the default subnet mask of class C IP addresses? If you open your network settings in Windows, you can see the subnet mask. The option is C. 255.255.255.0. Now, this is a very classic networking theory question, subnet mask. The default subnet masks are, there are three types, class A, class B, class C. This question comes under class C, right? So there are three subnet masks, A, B, C. You have four different blocks, right? If the first block is filled, that is class A. For example, here option A. Class B, two blocks are filled. Here option B. Class C, that is option C. What about the last one? Is it class D? No, that is a broadcast address. If all the block filled with 255, that is broadcast address. So I'll repeat, the option itself tells which class it is. The first one, class A, second one, class B, third one, class C. And it is very easy to remember if it is only one block filled, that is class A. Two blocks filled, class B. Three blocks, class C. If all the blocks filled, that is a broadcast address. So the simple shortcut is 3 block C, 2 block B, 1 block A. Which network topology has a single point of failure? The correct answer is star. In star topology, all devices are connected to a central hub or switch. If the central device fails, the entire network goes wrong, right? So the name itself suggests you something, right? Star. So there will be a central point. From the central point, there will be a lot of multiple lines will go. So if a central device fails, obviously the entire network goes down. That's why star topology has a single point failure. What about other options? Mesh. It is multipath, so no single failure. A ring, it is circular, so failure impacts, but not central. Bus, it's a backbone cable failure, affects network, but not central node based. Clear? So let me repeat: star, central hub or switch; mesh, multipaths; ring, circular; bus, it's a backbone cable failure affects network. Which device connects multiple devices in a network but does not? A hub works as a physical layer. Sorry, a hub works at the physical layer. In simple, receives data and broadcasts it to all devices. It has no filtering or intelligence. What about other? Switch, filters using MAC address, router filters using IP address, bridge filters LAN segments. So here, hub, there is no brain, it will only broadcast. So let me repeat. Switch, filter using MAC address. Router will filter using IP address. Bridge will filter between LAN segments, right? LAN segments. Hub It will just broadcast. A collection of web pages under a single domain is called a website. Right? It's a very direct question. So whenever you see multiple pages accessed using one domain name, the correct term is website only, right? For example, www.google.com, or let's take the SSC, www.ssc.nic.in, right? That's a home page plus result page and notification page, right? One single website. We have multiple pages like home page, result page, notification page, collectively comes as one website. And what about portal? Portal, a gateway providing multiple services like banking, mailing, right? Dashboard. That is called portal. What is called blog? Content focused website. That is also a website, but it's a content focused website, not the generic term. Server, a machine that hosts website. Nothing but a bigger hard disk, right? If I save the file in my system, you cannot access. But if I save the same document in server, you can access it. Excuse me, I'll move on to the previous question. So this we have seen. Let's move on to the next question. Which malware spreads without any user action, exploiting vulnerabilities? Worm. I told you worm is a self-replicating malware. So this is very important malware distinction question because we have different types of malware here. Let's go one by one. The first one, virus. It needs user action to spread. Toss on, disguised as useful software. Worm spreads automatically using network vulnerabilities. So the correct answer is worm. Why the other options are wrong? Virus, it requires a file action, right? So we need to access, or let's say they execute the function. So in simple term, requires file execution. Torzon needs user to install because it disguises itself as a software. Keylogger records keystrokes, does not self-spread. So the self-spreading malware is worm. Very dangerous. Which one of these is an example of a strong password? So how I can say a strong password? A strong password must include uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special character. And here, option C satisfied all the conditions. Uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters. Why other options are wrong here? Option A, it is a common dictionary word, right? So all the people are using password 123. When we are developing a sample website or sample application, we'll set the password as password 123. SSC 205, it is very predictable exam related text. 12345, one of the weakest password globally, right? That's an easy combination. So special character plus numbers makes the password stronger. Which of the following is the default port for HTTP? Which is 80. The default ports are direct SSC favorites or banking exams too. HTTP port number 80, HTTP yes, right? HTTP secured, port 443, right? And what about other two? 25, it is SMTP, email sending port number. 21, FTP, file transfer protocol, right? So I'll repeat the answers here. The first option, 25, SMTP, email sending. 21, FTP, file sending. 443, HTTP, yes, secure web. 80, HTTP, right? So these are all direct questions. Which among the following is the first page displayed when you open a website? Everybody knows it's homepage, right? And sometimes they will, don't give you homepage. Instead of that, they will give you a landing page, right? So landing page or homepage, both are same, right? But main is different. So the entry point of any website is called homepage or landing page. This a standard term used in web design, browsers, or any competitive exams. And why other options are wrong? Default, main, start page is informal terms, right? And the homepage is an official exam aspect terminology, right? So home or landing is the correct answer. Which among the following is not an antivirus software? The answer is Android. Because it's a very direct question, everybody can answer. Other options you might have, other options. You might have downloaded as a software and installed in your system, right? So Avast, it's a very popular free antivirus. Even when I was using Windows, I used Avast only. Norton, it's a commercial antivirus suite. Some people are preferring Norton. McAfee, it's an enterprise and personal antivirus, right? So I'll repeat, Avast, it's very popular for, especially for free antivirus. Norton, commercial antivirus suite. McAfee, enterprise and personal antivirus. And Android, it's a OS. OS cannot be compared with antivirus. Which network device translates domain name into IP address? The correct answer is DNS server. When you type www.google.com, the system needs an IP address. So the conversion from name to number is done by the DNS server, right? So what we are typing is words. System will not find the server based on words. So that words will be converted into name by the DNS server. Clear? And why other options are wrong? Router. It routes package. Switch connects device in LAN. Firewall. It secures unauthorized access, right? Like filtering. So router will route, switch will connect, firewall will do the filtering. So the DNS will convert the name to number. Which network device translates? Oh, the same question repeats, I believe. Now, let's see some cloud related question. Which among the following is not a feature of cloud computing? The first one is, okay, I'll go with the answer now. Manual resource allocation is not a feature of cloud computing. So obviously remaining things are feature of cloud computing, right? But I'll give you a clear definition here. Cloud computing is known for automation, like the resources are automatically allocated, scalable, shared across users. Manual allocation goes against the cloud principle. Let's take the first one, on-demand self-service. It's a core cloud feature, right? So based on the demand, we will get the cloud. For example, most of the users are using 15 GB Gmail space, right? Only very few people are go for beyond 15 GB. So based on a demand, they will use the service. So that is a core cloud feature. If you buy a laptop, it will come with a 512 GB or 1 TB, 1 TB. But how many of us completely use 1 TB? Some people needs only 500, some people needs only 600, some people will use only 700, but we cannot buy a laptop with 700 GB. We need to buy with 1000 GB or let's say 1 TB. Yes, but in cloud it is possible. So that's the first point, on-demand service, self-service. Then scalability. Yes, now I'm using 5 GB. Tomorrow I can scale up to 10 GB or scale down to 1 GB. Resource pooling. Resource pooling means we can share the infrastructure, right? So in a cloud, if I create one virtual device, I can use a virtual device, and my friends can use the virtual device. My students can use the virtual, device. My fellow faculties can use the virtual machine. So on-demand self-service, scalability, and resource pooling are the features of cloud, but manual resource allocation is not the feature. It is against cloud principle. Which among the following is not a web browser? Oracle. Chrome, Firefox, and Edge are all web browsers we are using day-to-day life, used to access websites. Oracle is a database company or software, not the browser, right? So SSC, or in banking, often mixes company names with actual software to confuse you, right? So Chrome, Google browser, Firefox, Mozilla browser, Edge, Microsoft browser. So if it opens website, it is browser. If it stores data, it is database. Which type of network covers the smallest area? People will go for LAN, right? Because they might not hear about PAN, PAN, but here the correct answer is PAN. So network size is very, common in this kind of competitive exams, right? So let's go with smallest to largest. So the smallest is PAN, then LAN, then MAN, then WAN, right? So I used to remember like PLMW, right? So PLMW. So P means personal area network, like Bluetooth between phones, earpads, or smartwatches, right? I'm using an earpad. That is a PAN, right? Personal area network. So that is the smallest area. Clear? So the next one is LAN, local area network. Covers building or a office or a lab. MAN, it's a metropolitan area network. Covers a city. It's a WAN, worldwide area network. Wide area network. Covers country or continent, right? So the range, if you go with the range, yes,